Queens. I am Rachel Reilly Diegues, joined by your other favorite queen,
Jenn Hoffman. Hello.
Hello, and we're excited to jump on today and talk with you about Love is Blind. Every single episode has now dropped, and this was a doozy of a season. I feel like we could have talked for 12 hours about it, but Jen and I have been texting back and forth, so we're going to try to keep it, paraphrase the season for you, I guess is what we'll say. Jen, for starters, did you or did you not love Britney? Because I'm a Britney stan.
Oh, yeah. If we're going to start from the beginning, I'll say I'm a Britney stan.
Start from the beginning. Okay.
All right. Because I know since the wedding episodes just dropped, people are going to want us to get into that. So I feel like we should jump into that and kind of work backwards. But if we want to right up front say that Britney would have been amazing on the show, I would have been much more happier watching her. I'm a stan. I want to watch her life. I would like to see her be on another dating show and see how she does. Or host something. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
She's going on another show. I bet you that we'll see her on the Netflix dating show. Which one is that called? Paradise, or what do they call it now?
The Perfect Match.
Perfect Match, right? We will see her on Perfect Match. So then we can start from the end and then talk about some of the highlights of the season. So Ramses and Marissa did apply for a marriage license. We saw that go down. But then they called it off just days before the wedding.
On this season, we end up with only two people that even make the altar. And one of them is so controversial and so convoluted and so full of like lies and mystery and craziness that I would argue that you only had one couple that had any sort of possibility, semblance, or anything of being a viable couple. And then every other couple had such deeply troubled like people that were on it cast. Like, is this a casting issue? Like, the guys are like the scummiest.
Shocking. They're shocking. Shockingly scummy guys. Yes.
And then you have Hannah, who's just like delusional, not wrong about the stuff because Nick is also so terrible, but the way she presents herself, she might as well just be one. I'm like, are people okay? Or did casting try to just go for it so bad with craziness that they're going to lose the heart of the show, which is rooting for certain people, because you can't root for people when people are cheating and lying about kids. And like when you have the type of drama that's Jerry Springer drama on this type of show, that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for conflict between people that really want to get married and they want to know if love is blind. If you meet your match behind the wall, does it work out when you get to know them in person, in their energy, what they look like, what day-to-day life is? Not, are they a complete cheater, liar, manipulator, like that's not, I feel like the premise of the show almost went out the window this season.
I agree with you 100% on that. So this is my thing about the show. And we've seen this. The first season was beautifully done. We had couples that were genuinely looking for love and they were genuinely open for this experiment of Love is Blind. Since then, because they blew up so much on social media and have become such celebrities in pop culture, I truly think since then, the show has just become a mess of a dating show. It is like
Instagram followers.
Instagram ruined the show. So this is the other thing. They need to go back to casting the show without letting them know what the show is. So before anyone knew what the show is, sure, it's harder to cast people, but by the same token, you get people that are genuinely there for this experience. And I think that the people now that are applying for Love is Blind are just going on the show to go on the show and get talked about, to get Instagram followers, to get TikTok famous, to get what's coming after the show. And we see that so much in these reality shows. And so it's really felt like this season, especially. And then I do think part of casting, because are they just casting these crazy storylines because they need people to talk about them? Because if you look at it, like, networks are competing for attention, right? Like, they want you to watch their shows. Love is Blind is a hit show, but like, if people aren't talking about it, is it really still a hit show? Right.
That's so true. I mean, I will say people were talking about it, it became this huge show, not just because of the Love is Blind concept, but because of how also awkward and weird it is. Same as a married
Yeah.
site, how awkward it is to go through the process. That is just fascinating in of itself. So if you take people that are willing to be on TV and outgoing enough to make the cut, then you have a riveting enough show for good television. I'm wondering, is Love is Blind dead unless they go back to, if they can't cast it completely blind where people know about the show, is Love is Blind dead unless they go back to really making sure people want love and are vetted very well? Like, because people, while they're
Yes.
eating it up, are also saying like they can bear, they're just fast forwarding through it because it's, and then watching like, they're looking at the news, but not the show. You know what I mean? Like they're looking at
100%.
the program
Because
up
the
to
news stories are overpowering the storyline of the show at this point, which we see happen a lot on a lot of docu-follows, a lot of shows. Like, look at that Scandival that happened when we were watching, when we were watching Vanderpump Rules, right? Like, Scandival overtook the season so much that they had to start filming immediately for the next season. So when something like that happens, when these news stories overtake the show, when you're filming a docu-follow, you can follow that story. But when you're filming a show like Love is Blind, where it's more of a quote experiment or like a game show, it's hard for the audience to keep up because we're like, wait, on the show, like we like him. And then here he's like comes out, he has 12 baby mamas and like he lies about everything. And it's so confusing.
yes.
And then like a quiet story, like, like Garrett and Taylor, like that gets overpowered, So I don't know. I think Love is Blind is, they need to kind of like revisit how they do the casting and revisit they just don't need to tell contestants that they're applying for Love is Blind at this point. They need to go back to like recruiting people
Are
for
you
a
trying?
dating show.
Yeah, like just because if they know Love is Blind, you're going to get people that just want the clout
To
or
be
view.
on Netflix.
But what's
Yeah.
wilder though is that why would certain people, like for example, the biggest creep I think who's ever been on it, the guy who lied and said that he was drunk at a sleep test when he drunk texted, sexted some woman.
Yeah.
Um, I always forget his name, Steven.
Steven, yeah.
He like you that's not the type of clout you want. Like maybe Tyler, even though Tyler is lied about having the three kids, about them being sperm babies, and maybe there's so much drama there that like it does help him. He does get clout. He can have some sort of argument about like, well, I said it that way because she was in a lesbian marriage with somebody else, so when I said sperm babies, I didn't want to give away someone else's sexuality. I mean, there's a lot of excuses he could use,
Yeah.
even though like more and more is coming out about him just completely lying about stuff. There, I could see how he, especially because the ex presented evidence that he said he wanted to go on the show to provide a better life for this family. So it's while he's not with the ex, because she is a lesbian, I guess most of the time, but has had relations with Tyler, it seems like he went on this for the clout and is getting clout and is getting attention. But if you're somebody
Yeah.
like Steven, who is going to do such outrageous, like the audacity of this man, gross stuff, like you don't want that type of clout. Like nobody wants to go near you. Like I don't get it. Like it's that bad. Maybe somebody with a secret kid is not
It's
as bad as that.
no, 100%. Well, it also like, so okay, to get back to a little bit of the Britney story, like how were they able to go to Miami without that being filmed? Like, I have so many questions because if this is like truly an experiment where they're supposed to be like sticking to the plan, I feel like we're missing out on a lot of storyline with
Yeah.
their like with relationships, right?
Yeah.
So like Britney, they broke up in Miami, right? Like, I mean, I think we all saw that coming, but I mean, it was also kind of confusing. And so I think that they need to like focus on following the couples after the show, like more like a docu follow, because if we can follow them more like understanding their storyline more than just like the home visits. So what I heard from someone that was on the show, he told me that basically they don't get paid to film these extra at home visits. So that could also be a problem too. Because I guess like if they're not getting paid, then they're just kind of like throwing together whatever they can. So they go back to their home, they go back to their real lives, their real jobs, and then they'll be like, hey, by the way, you have to work all day, but like you need to make sure that you can schedule, a 12-hour filming day on Tuesday, whatever.
Right.
So that we can get all of this at home stuff that's going on. So I think like when they're at filming this at home stuff, like it feels fabricated. Like all the Hannah drama felt fabricated, but like it feels like they're trying to put together something to make a show instead of just actually following them, putting cameras in their houses, like 90
Yeah.
Day Fiancéing it. You know what I mean?
That
I
makes,
don't understand why they're not doing that.
yeah, you know what makes a lot of sense? You saying that is, and I think it got worse. So they used to have them live together more. Now they don't even really have to live or spend time together unless it's on call time. Like now we're going to meet a
Yes.
family. Now we're going to have a meeting. So they don't go through the process of actually living their lives together and integrating things like the way you see on also Married at First Sight, where there's a Dr. Pepper,
Yeah.
sexual health, consultant, and a pastor if you need that. I think they also need a panel of people to help them through it. They need to
Yeah.
actually integrate and have their lives together, because now this explains the other season too, where one woman was freaking out because she was like, you're never home. And the guy ended up
Yeah.
here, and he was like, he had to literally work because he wasn't getting paid. He didn't have the luxury of taking hours off. And then he would show up just for filming, like get there last minute, not have seen her because he was working.
Yes, 100%. And that's the problem. Like when you go back to your regular life, if you're working, a 9 to 5, and then your partner is working a 5 to 9 or whatever, like you aren't going to see them. And if you don't have that base before the fact, then it does become almost impossible. And you're right. Like, Married at First Sight, they do a really good job at following the couples, like a docu-follow, where they're like, document their job is to follow them around, instead of where this is almost become they just come together, they're told like we're going to film on a Tuesday, and then they just come together for that, which it seems like we see that because sometimes they don't even move in together now,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And it's like Married at First Sight is similar though, where they do it's similar and different. So this is why I
Yeah.
think because basically my premise is like, is Love is Blind over? And if not, what would they need to do to change it? That's like my big premise. Like, is it dead?
Yeah.
And then it would have to be more like Married at First Sight, where yes, they do go back to their own lives in a way, but they do have to live together. If they don't live together, that becomes a big problem. And like the therapist comes over and they talk about it, and they have to experience what their daily lives are like together. So it's like, yes, even if you do have a full-time job, they want to see what it's going to be like. And then they film dinners. That's why you see a ton of on that show filming somebody
Yes.
coming for dinner. And then you see them filming their, with their own camera, them waking up in the morning. And you'll see like whether they're happy or one of them's like, well, I'm getting up for my job and he's going to sleep in. And you see that tension building. Whereas on Love is Blind now, it's just like pods and then the vacation. And then after that, it's like, did we like each other enough for the vacation, and or
Yeah.
a liar, and or was I just here just to be on that show?
Literally. And I think we're seeing a lot where we've seen this from, I think, season 3 on to season 7. Now we're in season 7, where we see a lot where the couples are like, let's just get engaged. Let's just do it. And they want to do it because they want to continue on in this journey. They want to go to they want to go on the Mexico trip, and then they want to go and like keep being on the show. So now we see them, okay, let's just get engaged. So now they get engaged. They go on the Mexico trip and they butt heads or they fight or whatever. And there's no, like you said, there's no conflict resolution. There's no therapist. There's no one to really talk them through their differences, as if they just 1 week in a pod would have given them enough time to figure everything out. When, also we've heard some horror stories in the news about the fact that they are just fed alcohol when they go into the pods, and
Mhm.
they don't sleep a lot, and they're they're just given all these different things. So like, while I'm not judging all of that, I'm just saying like right now in general, that's not a conducive environment to have a healthy relationship, right?
If you don't even know what time it is, whether it's night or day,
Yes.
and you're not even sure what day you're on, and you're drinking a lot, and you're in this high pressure thing. It's not just is love is blind. It's like is love is blind also when you're sleep deprived and not
Yeah.
in the right mind, and that makes worse decisions, and that also almost makes the people that are less sane able to navigate it. Because if you think about it, if you're a normal person who's not used to that, I hate using normal person. There's no such thing as a normal person. But if you're more likely to be like, oh, these conditions aren't so great for dating, so I can't make a decision, then those are the people that are going to pull back a little bit and be less likely to actually get engaged. Instead, you have the people that are like, screw it. I don't care. Like, I don't care what day it is or if I even am super into this person or whatever. I just want to keep pushing through this. I'm not going to make a rational decision saying yes. And then you have less successful couples like we saw this time. Only two even made it to the altar. On the other ones, it was almost
I
all
know.
who did. Almost two made it to
Yeah.
the altar. And only one of those two couples is under the correct information about the person. You know what I mean? So it's like only one genuine couple made it to the altar. Another one you could say is genuine, but she wasn't given all the information she would need available to make a proper decision. And then everyone else quit way
Yeah.
before, except for this last Ramses thing, which was such a flake out BS. Like, and then he even, you know what, he proved your point because he's like, I don't know what it would be like to live with you and actually share space with you and be in your energy, which shows that they weren't.
They weren't, I know. Well, I felt like Ramses and her were, I felt like they were, the pairing didn't ever feel like, from what we saw in the show, like it was, it didn't feel like they had that chemistry that you have when you're like about to get married anyways. So I understood, I was not shocked by that, like,
Yeah.
revelation, but, I think that I would see those two more coming together in the future, like trying to work on it after the show. But also, like, how hard is it to meet someone on a show, to genuinely have a connection with them, to go through this whole experience with them, and then at the end be expected to get married? Like, that is a huge decision. And most,
Yeah.
they want like rational people, and they want people that are real people with real jobs. We have a physicist, we have, our engineer, and like, they want them to make rational decisions and be like able to do all of this in the span of like 3 months. Like, that's just not a rational timeline either. And
Mm.
especially after you're only in the pods for like a week, 2 weeks. So I don't know. I mean, I think like, if they want Love is Blind to work, they need to find people that don't know what show they're going on. I do think that that is the end goal to make this show work again, because otherwise you are going to end up with a bunch of people that just want to be on TV and that are just like lying to get through what they have to get through to make it to the next step, including lying to themselves. Like,
Yeah.
they're lying to themselves and they're lying to their people.
Yeah, that is very true because I mean, one of the things that would have been outrageous, but because everything else was so outrageous, got swept under the rug is then you have Tim, who everything's going well. You think this couple really cares about each other. And then all of a sudden, because she took a nap when his parents came to
Oh,
visit,
yeah.
that he's like, this is over, I'm done, we're not getting married. Like, pulls the rug out from this person who is genuinely there, trying hard. We end up finding out that she actually she did meet up with the family. She
Yeah.
worked all day and then just took like an hour nap. And that was like his excuse, like, no, I'm not going to do it. So he, wildly insincere, wanted to make it for either the most amount of time possible or just didn't like her and needed an excuse to get away. So it's like,
It felt like there was a lot of excuses this season to get
yeah,
away. Like, Hannah's excuses, like, as soon as her friends were like, we actually don't like him, she was like, perfect, I don't either, he's done, see you later. And it was like, no, girl, like, like, hold the brakes. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like she was like really, like you said, delusional with a lot of it throughout the whole process as well.
Yeah, she was
And
like,
look, it made great TV,
yeah,
but by the same token, like, is she probably not ready for a marriage? No, I don't think so.
no, she's like a
Like,
very insecure person. Because
yes,
and you said it, admittedly, she said she was insecure about her weight, about looks, about this and that. But then this is before, this is just in the pods. Then she
yeah,
would turn and tell the guys in the pods, I'm sick of people dating me just because of how I look. But then also get mad at them if they brought up her looks because she was scared they would think that
yeah,
she was either overweight or unattractive. And then the second she got in a relationship, immediately decided to start undermining the other person because of her insecurities and just destroying them. Now, look, Nick had a lot of flaws. Nick, was just a
yeah,
little, and I do think Nick was just parroting things he thought women would want to say. I think he is immature. So it's like Hannah wasn't wrong, but Hannah was also delusional about herself and who she is. So like it
yeah,
was 10 times as worse. And somehow Nick would have ended up being almost like the villain or the problem in the relationship. But Hannah was so outrageously mean and unnecessarily cruel and also delusional about herself and what her, how she was presenting herself that she became like the villainess, where it was just like,
yes,
if she had been just a little bit gentler about it or less delusional, it could have been like, Guy, you're just parroting things to me. You haven't told me any plans for your life. Like, you presented yourself very differently in the pods than the way you are. I fell in love with you. But I mean, at least Hannah did Hannah and showed that she just like can't control herself, and her own family was like she's
yeah.
critical. It's just you just had so many people. It was that was like a little interesting to watch.
It's Jonny Fairplay, reality TV icon, Survivor Hall of Famer, and I'm talking today about Work Money. Work Money is a non-profit organization that focuses on lowering costs and raising incomes for all Americans to make American life more affordable and American families more economically secure. They provide products, services, perks, benefits, tips, and tools to help members improve their financial lives. It's time to level up and make more money in this economy. We're talking getting rich. Now, this sweepstakes is giving away $50,000. You can use this to pay your rent, your mortgage. Imagine what you can do with all the money that you'll save. Now, this is put on by Work Money, and this site has all these sick benefits, and it's free. Go sign up right now and get more rich. Now, listen, you can change your life. Now, what would you do if you didn't have to pay your rent or mortgage for a year? Listen, sign up right now for free. A link is available right here in the show notes. Check them out. Personally, I'd get more pinball machines. I'm Jonny Fairplay. I wouldn't lie about that. It's Work Money. More money.
But when it's every couple except for Garrett
Yeah.
and Taylor, it's too much.
It was so much. I know. Well, and then I was like, the Garrett and Taylor storyline, I felt like, yeah, I did think Taylor was like guarded or whatever, but like I felt like you always, every season on Love is Blind, we have a couple that you're like, oh, they make sense. Oh, they're like this. They're going to totally work out. And then it's like, I mean, I don't really understand what happens anymore on the show. You know what I mean? Like, how do these couples now make sense of this whole situation? What did you think about Garrett and Taylor?
I thought Garrett and Taylor were sincere people who came there because they actually wanted to find love. And I think
Yeah,
that, they maybe were surprised by what it was like genuinely what the show wants, because he said he had never dated anybody who wasn't white, and she said that she didn't
yeah,
want to reveal her race, and that they were both kind of like nerds and bonded over that in the pods, but didn't know if
I know. I
that
love
was
that.
enough. I love that too. And then they got into real life and had little issues. I mean, one of them wanted to move across the entire country away from his family,
Yeah,
you got to see them work that out and deal with those issues. And that would have been interesting, but there were so many other drama and distractions from the other couples that it was like you didn't see what the premise of the show is supposed to be, which is like, is Love is Blind? Is dating who you normally wouldn't pick just by visually seeing them and by having common interests, like their nerd stuff and the tattoos that were the same and stuff. Is that more important? And does that make you more successful? Well, by that premise, the answer is yes, because they both admitted they never would have dated each other in the real world if
Yeah.
they knew
They
each
would
other.
have never met each other in the real world. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think Garrett hangs out with the same people that she hangs out with.
yeah, yeah, that's
But
true. They wouldn't have met, and they both
yeah,
they wouldn't have gone for each other if they saw
yes,
each other. But they're wildly attracted to each other now. They want a family. They're very serious. I mean, who knows what will happen? Just like any couple, down
yeah,
months. But I believe now at this moment that they are in love. They want a family. They're starting a life. It may or may not work out the same way normal couples do, but that was like this experiment gone right. And I feel like every other single couple on this
yeah.
was just like,
But in the first episode, Taylor tells us that she is really genuinely there to find out if love is truly blind, if people will truly just fall for her, like personality and life and the choices that like the journey that she's been on, right? So like she was there looking for that reason.
yes,
And
he was
I
too.
think that,
He
yeah, he
never,
was too. Right, right. But I feel like that's why they worked, And I think I agree. I think it was very interesting. I thought it was fun to watch them. They felt very genuine. And so for me, it was like, sure, I love the crazy Hannah drama because it's fun to watch a show with someone that's crazy. And sure, I love the crazy Britney drama. But like at the end of the day, it's like, oh, and the Ramsey's drama. That was great too. But then like at the end of the day, I want to see like you watch Love is Blind almost because you want this fairy tale. Like that's what we fell in love with the show on season 1 for.
yeah.
And
A good example
but
is,
now they're almost telling us the fairy tale isn't real. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
You know what? They did have their own drama. I mean, Garrett did
Yeah.
receive the a text from his ex, and then did like I don't think he's bad or evil for it. I think it's just the dumb guy stuff. Like, guys, why do you do this? Like he said, he just liked it, but in reality, he actually did the thing that
Yeah.
she wanted him to do, which was to say, "I'm in a committed relationship. I'm this and that."
Yep.
But like men, not all men, but a lot of men say that like they'd rather just avoid the conflict, so they just will say like,
They
"Oh,
just like lie. Yeah.
yeah," they just lie
Right.
about it.
But then he like told on himself.
Yeah, but he tells on himself. So like they did have a drama there. Like, how do you get over that? Like, I feel like even though if I had found out that he didn't text I'm in a committed relationship, like he kept it going, that'd be different. But there is that
Yeah.
conflict of like, why lie? Which is so many women can relate to that. And I bet you so many men can relate to like, why did I lie about that? Because I
Yeah.
wasn't sincere. That to me is like what I loved out of Love is Blind. Like people really there for the experiment, watching
Yep.
people go through real life, like, oh, he just did something dumb. She should be mad. Can she trust him? Will they rebuild this? Not I don't need the drama level of like, I have 3 other kids that I'm going to
Oh
fully
my God, I
unlock,
know. Right.
or I'm
Yes.
going to sex, or even just I'm going to be sexting people about my kinks and cheating on you throughout this entire process. Like that's not like yes,
That
it
is
got
not Love is Blind.
like it got a lot of attention, but it totally turned me off to the season. It was too much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I totally agree. And I think because of that, we need more Taylor Garrett's and less crazy dramas. And I think
Yep.
that's like what Love is Blind it needs to have to fix it. And I don't think the experiment is dead. And like to answer your question, do I think Love is Blind is over? No. I think that they have a great concept and I love the experiment of it. But like I do think casting needs to be really looking for people that are like really there just because they want to find someone and like find someone that is genuinely interested in them instead of like, all the others, the whole reason behind the show.
Yeah. That's why I
So,
wanted to ask that is Love is Blind dead, and how could it be fixed, or how do they rescue the show of you, because you've been on so many reality shows. You actually
yeah.
found and got married, and you work in casting, so you're one of the best people to possibly pose that question to and have the discussion with it about, because I know everyone's going to be posting their video takes on the wedding or on the couples or on this, but they don't have the same insight as somebody who's been
Right.
through a showmance, got married from the showmance, even though it wasn't intended, it wasn't on a dating show, and also
Yeah.
catch people for dating shows like you catch the Golden Bachelorette. So your insight is like multi-layered in this. So we get
And
different.
I feel, yeah, and I feel like, so Brennan and I connect, and why we have so many Big Brother relationships that are successful is because you do spend that time 24/7 just talking. And that's all you can do. And someone sees you at your worst because you wake up and you look how you look. So you're like moving into a relationship on the first day, and people see you like you're like living with them. So they see you like no makeup. They see you, all your flaws and everything. You're weird. Everyone is weird, right? Humans are just weird in general. So, but they see that stuff. So I think that that's why, and then you're talking 24/7 and going through this crazy experiment, but they take away everything else out of the Big Brother world as well. So like, whereas Love is Blind, you go back to the real world, you have your phones, you have your outside distractions. Like on Big Brother, for however long you're on that show, they take away every single outside distraction. So your only focus is to be with these people. Um, so that's why I think it works so well. And that's why I think a lot of shows don't work at, like, granted, on The Bachelor, they take away all your devices, they take everything away, but you're only seeing that person. You're typically seeing them, once or twice a week.
Like
And
you only
then same
one
thing,
date, group date. It's not the
group
same.
date, right? Exactly. It's not the same.
It's about time spent because that
Yeah.
goes to exactly what you said about Love is Blind is that they don't even really move in together. They're supposed to, but they don't. They only
They
show up
don't. Yeah.
days. So you don't have this integrated time. So, it's funny. Big Brother, I think, has had more successful marriages and children from
Yes.
marriages than any of the dating shows. And that makes a lot
Yes.
of sense because you're actually spending time. Because you're absolutely right. On The Bachelor or Bachelorette, it's like group dates, one-on-ones, not that much time at all with people. And I'm noticing that more than ever, which we'll get into in our next one when we can talk about The
On the
Bachelor.
Golden Bachelor.
It never occurred to me. It
Yeah.
always occurred to me this isn't a lot of time, but it never occurred to me how little until more recently when I was like, wait a minute. So there's some people that like have a connection and get to like a hometown that have like seen her maybe alone for 4 hours,
Yeah.
and then others have.
Literally.
It's so wild. So I'm like, of course, there's more Big Brother marriages and babies because you spend time together. We've just unlocked the secret.
Yes.
Time.
And even on Love is Blind, when they spend a week in Mexico, it's like that's really not that long if you think about it. Like, and you're on this like honeymoon phase where you literally just met this person. It's your time to like, go and have fun. And it's kind of like it doesn't feel real because it feels like you're in a different world. Like you just met them and then you see everyone else from the pods and then you're like going in this like alternate universe where you're like in a fantasy suite basically the whole time. You're in on an island in a beautiful location. Alcohol's unlimited, food, everything is provided for you, and then your only job is to get to know each other. So it is not realistic either.
What's
And
interesting,
then,
while it is unrealistic, though, it is one of the most interesting parts because they don't spend
yeah,
as much time together after. You see them argue about somebody snoring. You see them get jealous
yeah,
over talking to another person. You hear them complain to their friends about like the date. They'll do, oh my God, he's so messy or she's so messy or she doesn't like to do activities while I do because it's like the honeymoon is the most unrealistic part, but also Love is
yes,
made it the only realistic part of them living together because it's the only time they have to spend like the 24 hours together.
24/7. Yes,
So that's like when who is kind of going to work out or who wants to or who is like kind of done with somebody or already is going to be picky or is not attracted to the other person or who is bitchy or like what conflict needs to be solved, and then they go home, go back to their jobs,
mm-hmm.
and don't spend any time together.
And
So
don't, and yeah, and go back to their friends and go back to like whatever else. And so it's such a weird type of relationship show, which is why they've only had a few successful marriages as well that have lasted, right? So, I mean, I think we'll see like if Love is Blind can kind of work on getting together like more cast that is like more focused on being there for the right reasons. Like they just need more Taylor and Garrett's. Like honestly, like I really think if they have people that are like that, we'll get more of the couples that are gonna last and work together, work out. But also, like, I kind of want to know pre-screening. I've always wondered this: when they go through casting, does casting pair them up with people with similar, like Taylor and Garrett? Really, they had so much in common. They were like both into science. They were both like they had to have known those two were going to work out. So I wonder if like they go through and they're like, okay, well, this person over here, they all have these similarities. Like, you know, when you're casting a dating show, it's all
Right.
about matchmaking.
Yes.
And it's like we're truly matchmakers on dating shows. And I feel like that all the time because when I talk to people for these dating shows I work on, I'm like, I just feel like I work for a matchmaking service. I'm like, is this person going to like Joan? Is Joan going to like this person? And then I go through and I think in my head, I'm like, the more I talk to this person, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Or the more I talk to them, I think in my head, like, this is just like, I just don't see it. But like, I know the network is going to want to put this person on for whatever reason. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
I feel like Love is Blind sets it up where there are certain like possibility combinations because you have a few people that are very Christian and into that and say
Yes.
that and you see those people kind of date each other and talk about it and decide. Then you have a few people that say they're adventurous and they don't really want to settle down and you see how those people
Well,
will
they
grab.
have like a compatibility form that they fill out, like a whatever, you know, all these dating shows do. So it's like they'll ask the same questions. What are you looking for? Tell us about yourself, that stuff. So
Right.
I do feel like the compatibility is a good idea. But like, look, there's like legit matchmaking services people. You know what I mean? And like
Yes.
legit dating, when you go on a dating app, they're supposed to be the best matchmaking services because it's AI that's like also matchmaking you.
Hmm.
So it's like, I feel like they could probably even do a better job at matchmaking at this point on Love is Blind, you know?
Right. Of
And how
course.
did this guy get through a background check with 3 babies in the background? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
know. Which well, because his name's not never they never had any legal paperwork.
right.
He never went
Because
to
he's the
court for
sperm
it. And
donor.
yeah, so that's how they got through that because he never paid child support. He's never been ordered to. They
Right.
never ordered did anything until the show either started. It was filming. So while they were
Yeah.
filming, the first thing was filed. So that's how you miss that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how you slip through the cracks, and he probably knew it on that one. But I think that we've hit on something really good here. I think it's kind of like we hit the bullet point. It's like do your best to either cast Love is Blind blindly and or find the
Yeah.
most authentic people looking for love. Um, and then make sure that they actually have to live together and film together, whether that means paying them so they can take time off from their jobs, or if they're
They
unable to take
should.
time off for their jobs, making sure that they still have to live together and act like a person who couldn't take off from their job. Like
Yeah.
how would you live your life if you're going to be with this person? But it has to be people that have the ability and the desire to live with somebody after the honeymoon is over.
Experiment. Right.
Literal.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And in conclusion, as they say, I feel like Taylor and Garrett are such a cute match. I loved their nerdiness. I loved watching them in the pods together. And I loved even Garrett's honesty when he was like, it seems like you're very calculated, you're very held back. And then she explored that part of her personality. So I like that they worked through so much together. And like you said, the drama with the text message together that they had to explore. And I feel like because they are both like mature adult individuals, that they're going to work through all of this together. And it
Right.
feels very real. And I see like they made it to the altar. They're, together. Like I think that we'll see them together in the future. But I want to see more. I personally want to see more of those kind of couples on this show with the possibility because I personally am still living in a Disneyland where I want to see the romance stories.
You love the Disney. If I want to go
I
watch
do.
people just act messy or be there for attention, I will watch Love Island. That's what that is.
Literally. Yes.
And yeah, I want to see something where it's like two people form a deep connection, and then does it unravel when either physical appearance or the realities of life are more than just we connect like that. Then I wanted to watch Love is Blind, but instead I got Jerry Springer meets like the older, less bikini.
Yes.
Thing. Like it was
We did get Jerry Springer. Oh my God, I love it. Yep.
Rachel,
That's great.
your insight on this has been very helpful, and I think could be helpful to casting people, could be helpful to people understanding why this failed, because people are just saying it's just the clout chasers, and that's part of it. But I think the fact that Big Brother has more successful stuff than even The Bachelor, I think you really hit on the nail of the head, where it's the spending time together, whatever that looks like. It's spending time to get to know somebody and to get to know how they really are when they wake up in the morning, and how they eat their food, and talking to them more. Because without that, you don't know somebody.
That is 100% true. It's 100% true. And you don't know somebody in their good times only until you see them in their bad times. That's the truth too. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'll still watch the next season.
I watched it, and I'm hoping, hopefully, that they either vet people a little better or take some of these tips that you have just put forward, which we should focus on the network immediately. And
hey, by the way, Love is Blind casting, I'm available.
Put Rachel on.
Put me on. Let me cast.
Yeah.
Yay! Well, this is great, and thank you, Reality Queens, for joining us to discuss Love is Blind. Let us know what you think are some of the flaws in Love is Blind, or if you love it, if you love the drama. Some people love the drama, but I'm Rachel, and you can find me at Rachel Reilly Viegas or at Rachel Reilly Viegas on TikTok.
I am Jenn Hoffman. I'm at Jenn Hoffman High on Instagram and TikTok, and just Jenn Hoffman on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And you can also find us here doing more Reality Queens podcasting about some of your favorite shows.
Yay!